Pamela Forward, and I'm the founding director and president of Whistleblowing Canada. And I'm joined by Dr. Paloma Rago, whom most of you know, who is also founding director, and our guest speaker from Greece. You will see him. His name is Aris Danikas, and you'll get to know him shortly. And a really warm welcome to all of you as we delve into and learn more about the dynamics of whistleblowing, the mechanism that is globally acknowledged as the best mechanism in the world for preventing corruption, fraud, regulatory failure, and other wrongdoing. But before I go on, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that I'm here in Ottawa, on the unceded traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people, First Nation of Canada, and I'm grateful for their stewardship of this land. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, just a word about Whistleblowing Canada. We're a nonprofit registered charity with the purpose of advancing education on the whistleblowing phenomena through research and sharing the information publicly. We also provide information and support to whistleblowers who call us from across the country. And I also want to say a big thank you so much to those of you who donated tonight. These donations are strictly voluntary, and your help is much needed and appreciated. Lastly, just a quick announcement. Please check out our new Friends of Whistleblowers page on our website. This group was created for those who want to help beyond just a donation by acting as our social media ambassadors and sharing our weekly Facebook posts and information from the notices on our homepage. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to our moderator, Dr. Paloma Rago, who is Associate Professor and Director of Charity Insights Canada Project at Carleton University, who will introduce our esteemed speaker who's joining us from Greece. Thank you. Over to you, Paloma.
Thank you, Pam. And I do apologize. I was frantically calling Pam because I was having audio issues, so I take most of the blame here. I thank you for your patience. I also want to apologize for my 7-year-old who has no school today, so we'll be probably interrupting at some point. So I appreciate your patience. Tonight we are welcoming Aris Danikas, founder of Liberty Speech Greece, established in 2024. Originally a South African Greek electronics expert, Aris' life took a dramatic turn in 2008 when he was forced to return to Greece after exposing serious injustices. As a whistleblower, he revealed extrajudicial killings, human rights abuse, and the continued use of apartheid-era interrogation methods by specialized police units in South Africa. Units he had worked with as a volunteer crime scene investigator. Since then, he has remained committed to seeking justice, pushing for the prosecution of former South African police officers who avoided accountability for their crimes against people of color. Liberty of Speech is a nonprofit charity that works internationally to promote both the Declaration on Race and Racial Prejudice and the right to freedom of expression. The work of the organization defends Article 1 of the United Nations Convention on Human Rights and Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which asserts the right to freedom of opinion and expression of all people. Liberty of Speech is affiliated with international nonprofit organizations such as Blueprint for Free Speech and Whistleblower of America, amongst others. So today our speaker will present for about 25 minutes. And during this time, I will be muting everyone to just minimize disruption if you don't mind. After the presentation, we will open the session and we will stop the recording in the spirit of what we have done to have a safe, open discussion here, but the presentation will be recorded. I would kindly ask you to use the hand feature or even put a little note that you want to talk, and I'll moderate and assign the speaker just to keep things orderly. If we experience a Zoom bombing, I don't know if it's a thing still, but it used to be at early days of the pandemic. The procedures we have is that I'll shut down. Please, everyone, re-sign in, and I will admit one by one just to stop what's happening. So just so you're warned. Although these webinars are free, Whistleblowing Canada is an entirely volunteer-run organization, and I want to acknowledge and really thank Pam Ford for her incredible leadership on this and the time commitment. We thank again any voluntary contribution because they really help support this important work. And if you have any questions or want to touch base, please visit our website. Now, Ari, I'll pass it off to you. If you need to share your screen, you should be able to do it.
Okay.
Thank you. I won't be sharing. So I think Pamela will present the presentation.
Yes, I'm going to share it now.
Pam, do you want me to share it, or you're going to do it?
I've done it.
Okay,
can you
perfect.
see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay, Ari, so you just tell me when you want to go on to the next one, okay?
So good afternoon from Greece. It's a great honor to be invited and included with this growing network of international research organizations dedicated to strengthening and advancing the whistleblowing concept. How it all started for me. My journey began as a 17 years old immigrant teenager in South Africa back in 1988, where within the 20 years period I lived there, I completed my studies in electronics and successfully created and ran an electronics hardware business. However, nearly half of that time was also devoted to volunteer service within specialized law enforcement units, including those tasked with investigating serious and violent crimes as well as organized crimes. Motivated by desire to contribute to my community, which is suffering with an unprecedented crime wave, I found that I had both a passion for forensic investigations and a talent for solving complex cases. Within a few short years of service within those specialized police units, I was exposed to deeply troubling realities. I encountered and documented widespread human rights violations, including the continued use of apartheid-era prohibited interrogation techniques, methods rooted in torture, extrajudicial killing, while disproportionately targeting people of color. Although I was legally inexperienced at the time and unaware of what it meant to be a whistleblower, I followed my instincts and made both internal and external disclosures. By 2008, I faced severe retaliation, and fearing for my life, I sought refuge back in Greece together with my spouse. Regrettably, South Africa still remains a captured and corrupted state, notorious for injustice and its history of physically silencing whistleblowers. Judicial manipulation, political interference, and media bullying ensured that those accused with gross human rights violation escaped accountability, while whistleblowers' ordeal persisted. Unable to silence me physically, a relentless character assassination campaign targeted both my family and me, an effort that continues in South Africa to this day. Now, tragically, whistleblowers are still being killed. So 17 years of engagement in the whistleblower concept have led me to reflect deeply on what determines their survival. In moments of crisis, when fleeing or facing lethal consequences, I was fortunate to have an alternative. My dual citizenship and second passport provide me with an escape route when it was most critical. However, many whistleblowers do not have that privilege. This realization sparked the concept of my proposal of the International Treaty for the Protection of Whistleblowers, ensuring that those who risk everything in pursuit of truth are not left defenseless. And that now will take me to an overview page of the presentation. So if we can go to the overview page.
Okay. If it's going to let me, just hang on here. Okay.
I think if you click on the presentation and press page down, you should
Yeah,
go on the next page.
I'm on a new laptop and I'm trying to do that, but it's just not letting me do it. It seems to be stuck. Hang on.
Okay, great.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Pamela.
Sorry.
So I'll be sharing with you today the challenges faced by local authorities, the role of an international regulator authority, the treaty benefits, legal, structural, economical, and social, the use of an emergency visa for whistleblowers, the role of the embassies in support of that issuing of emergency visa. There will be some implementation challenges that I can think of, and we'll come to some conclusions. Now, the next page will be about introduction, but to be honest with you, introduction is not important. We all know what the whistleblower is and what he stands for, etc. I think we should move to the next page. Great. So let's establish a set of crucial points that necessitate the creation of the treaty. So what are the challenges that are fundamental and the fundamental challenges that faced by local authorities to effectively fight corruption? We have limited resources and legal framework. I mean, combating corruption and supporting whistleblowers is both challenging and complex for any functional governance due to many criteria, such as the need for experienced legal officials, funding, training of specialists, and dealing with outdated and conflicting national legal frameworks, especially in developing countries. Now, we often encounter inadequate training and cultural barriers, where officials tasked with handling whistleblower cases are often incompetent, biased, ill-prepared, or poorly trained. Speaking from personal experience, having dealt with whistleblowing policies globally, I've frequently engaged with attorneys, judges, and members of NGOs who were responsible for comprehending, developing, and transpositioning policies and procedures related to the whistleblower concept. I recall many incidents having to explain the difference between a police informer, for example, and a whistleblower. And that presented a significant challenge for them to understand. Translating the whistleblower concept to non-English speaking officials proved to be a daunting task. In Greece, we experienced considerable difficulty debating the official definition of the term whistleblower. I personally raised concerns when bureaucrats insisted on referring and translating whistleblower to informer or witness in Greek. There are cultural barriers and stigma, for example, in Greece. We avoiding characterize whistleblowers as informers because historically, an informer was often stigmatized as a paid police informant, or during World War II, under the Nazi occupation in many European countries, informers were often traitors. We then proceeded to legally translate whistleblower as a witness of public interest. That is the official translation that we gave to the word whistleblower. But here's the problem. A whistleblower is not merely a witness. Under the whistleblowing concept, a whistleblower can go beyond witnessing wrongdoing. They can take extra steps and risks to document, capture, and disclose such information, as well as the evidence, through internal or external disclosures, including media, or even do it anonymously. A witness, on the other hand, is typically associated with court testimony and we aim to shift the whistleblower concept away from such limited stereotypes and associations. We have another challenge, which is the corrupt interference. I mean, local judicial corruption often involves bribes, dismiss charges, fast-track cases, or manipulate trial outcomes. In many cases, judges face political pressure, leading to biased rulings. Across various countries, law enforcement agencies have been implicated in bribery scandals, where officers accept payments to ignore crimes, falsify evidence, or protect criminal network. I mean, the risk of retaliation against whistleblowers is a huge challenge as well. The subject has been thoroughly covered, highlighting the risks involved. It's crucial to note that these risks also affect families and children, especially with mental disorders such as PTSD. In Europe and in my knowledge, there is no recognized PTSD support policy for whistleblowers and the families as yet. So we need, let's move to the next page. So the role of the internal regulator authority can be incorporated in terms of a treaty. Consider this: regardless of whether it is positive or a negative outcome, humanity is evolving towards a global framework. Cross-border legal conflicts of interest pose substantial challenges in both criminal and civil legislation. The next logical subsequent step will be the establishment of a globally accepted framework of best practices for reporting, managing, and protecting whistleblowers worldwide. This will include a global knowledge hub for capacity building. And at this point, I would like to further introduce the concept of AI-based global whistleblower policy monitoring database that will be available to all treaty member states, various organizations, and local offices of the whistleblower for consultation and guidance. I mean, as we know, artificial intelligence is rapidly reshaping industries, governance, and society. While AI offers numerous benefits, it also brings significant risk, such as biased response and manipulation of public opinion based on malicious coding. We have unethical applications and corporate misconduct. The establishment of an international AI whistleblowing data center could serve as a global framework within the international office of the whistleblower, proposed for efficiency, transparency, accountability, and ethical AI governance. Let's move to the next page, please. Thank you. So let's look at treaty benefits and start with legal and structure. Some of the benefits I put together were consistency across jurisdiction. Whistleblower protections vary widely between countries, make it difficult for individuals to navigate legal risks when exposing corruption or ethical violations. The proposed treaty or resolution would standardize whistleblower protection across participating nations. It will eliminate conflicting policies, ensuring whistleblowers have equal legal safeguards regardless of their location. It will create a universal reporting framework, simplifying the process of filing ethical complaints. Now, again, I must emphasize here the role of an AI-based global policy monitoring database proposal, which will provide cross-border consistency. Such consistency will pinpoint and prevent loopholes that criminals, corporations, legal practitioners, and governments exploit to silence whistleblowers. We can also implement a framework for emergency visas at risk for risk of whistleblowers. I mean, whistleblowers often face retaliation, including lawsuits, threats, and even physical danger. The treaty will establish fast-track emergency visas for whistleblowers and the families at risk. International asylum agreements allowing whistleblowers to relocate without fear of extradition. We can have financial and legal support networks within the organization that will help whistleblowers and families transition safely onto new environments. I call this a rehabilitation process. This will ensure that whistleblowers never have to choose between silence and survival. Public libraries for policy guidance across border support. I mean, whistleblowers need access to critical legal information and ethical reporting guidelines. Not every whistleblower can afford an attorney before deciding to make a disclosure. Such information is crucial to assess risks and take decisions, but can make the difference between life and death. The treaty will support public databases access with the aid of an in-house AI on international whistleblower policies, ensuring transparency, clarity, and consistency. A global network for cross-border assistance, connecting whistleblowers with legal experts, as well as NGOs and veteran whistleblowers turned advocates and professionals. Educational resources for ethical practices, helping researchers and compliance officers, as well as businesses tasked to prevent misconduct. The Global Whistleblower Regulation Database, with the aid of an AI within the International Office of the Whistleblower, will be accessible, informed, and legally structured. If we can move to the next page of treaty benefits. Thank you. So another two benefits I put together is economical and social. I mean, that's very important. So we need to strengthen governance and reduce corruption. Strengthening governance involves creating transparent, accountable systems that actively combat corruption and save taxpayers' money. This includes implementing rigorous policies, promoting ethical standards, and encouraging international collaboration to ensure cross-border integrity in public and private institutions. By addressing corruption, societies can foster trust, improve institutional efficiency, reducing taxes, and pave the way for sustainable development. Now, increase global investor confidence by corruption perception index improvement. That is another treaty benefit. When a country improves its CPI ranking, it demonstrates its commitment for transparency, accountability, and ethical governance. This turn reassures investors that their resources will be managed responsibly without undue risk of corruption or mismanagement. A higher CPI score can attract foreign direct investments, bolster economic stability, and encourage sustainable development. Developing countries that will be willingly participating on the treaty or resolution of the International Office of the Whistleblower will be credited with higher CPI score that will attract further foreign investors. In return, this will support sustainable growth and social programs, promote justice and international partnership. Now, advancing justice and fostering international partnership emphasizes the importance of global cooperation to achieve sustainable development by strengthening the means of implementation and revitalization international partnership. What's important here is that the United Nations, they have focused on Sustainable Development Goals 16 and 17. Now, that emphasizes the importance of global cooperation to achieve sustainable development. And it basically promotes SDG 17, promotes collaboration between governments, the private sector, civil society to ensure effective resource mobilization. So it highlights the need for financial support, policy alignment, and systematic improvements to foster sustainable development worldwide. So one reference to that, to the United Nations, is because during our last international conference in Greece, back in June, United Nations representatives participated in a conference and expressed interest in this proposal. So the next logical step is for the United Nations to engage in further discussion with us to refine this proposal into a resolution that aligns with SDG 16 and 17. This will initiate the process of establishing an international office for the whistleblower in accordance with the proposed UN resolution. Can we have the next page? Thank you.
Now it's resisting again.
It's the emergency visa.
There, okay.
Great, thank you so much. So here comes the play for the emergency visa for the whistleblowers and why is it needed. Now, we all know that there's urgent protection for whistleblowers facing threats. Now, the concept of an emergency visa for whistleblowers is designed from a personal experience in the field to provide a rapid and effective means of safeguarding individuals and the families who expose misconduct or corruption and subsequently face immediate threats to the safety in hostile countries. One example being South Africa. Speaking from experience, there are also those cases involving cross-border interests and affecting multinational organizations. The emergency visa system will serve as a lifeline, enabling whistleblowers to relocate swiftly to areas where they can be protected from harm while the case is reviewed or pursued further. The need to escape from legal retaliation or violence, it's another reason. I mean, we all know of slap suits. I kept stating that one of the bigger threats against whistleblowers is the weaponizing of the judiciary process against them, thus limiting the right to freedom of expression of speech, which in turn compromises democracy itself. Strategic lawsuits against public participation, SLAPs in short, are a common tool used to intimidate whistleblowers, attorneys, NGOs, activists, and journalists who are pressured to reveal the identity of the sources. These lawsuits aim to burden whistleblowers with the cost and stress of legal defense, often with the goal of silencing them rather than seeking justice. An emergency visa system would allow whistleblowers facing slap suits or other forms of legal persecution to seek refuge in countries with a friendlier jurisdiction where they can safely continue their effort to reveal malfeasance without fear of persecution. We can also achieve a centralized system for visa issuance. To ensure efficiency and fairness, the treaty proposal includes the creation of a centralized system for processing, recommending, and forwarding applications on embassies issuing emergency whistleblower visas. It's like a veto process. The system will be designed to assess applications rapidly, given the time-sensitive nature of threats against whistleblowers. It will operate under strict guidelines to prioritize cases where there is credible evidence of imminent danger of retaliation. Such a system might involve international collaboration, with multiple countries agreeing to participate and support the initiative as part of the treaty membership. This will create a network of safe havens for whistleblowers and their families, reinforcing the global commitment to transparency, accountability, and the protection of those who courageously stand up against corruption and wrongdoing. On the next page, please. And that is where the embassy support role comes into play. Embassy can process emergency visa application. It can liaise with local office of the whistleblower. There will be the final defense for whistleblowers at immediate risk of serious harm, and they will implement standardized criteria for protection and relocation. The role of embassies in the emergency visa system will be pivotal. They will act as the initial point of contact for whistleblowers seeking urgent protection, processing emergency visa applications swiftly and efficiently. By liaising with the local national offices of the whistleblower, who will bring the application to their attention, embassies will veto the credibility and urgency of the threats faced by applicants. Furthermore, embassies will serve as a final line of defense for individuals at immediate risk, offering temporary refuge or fast-tracking relocation to a safer jurisdiction. To maintain fairness and transparency, standardized criteria will need to be established to evaluate cases and prioritize those involving imminent danger. If we move to the next page. So I put together some brief implementation challenges that I can think of. I mean, quite a lot of them actually. Legal harmonization across jurisdiction, establishing consistent legal frameworks among participating countries to ensure seamless operation of the emergency visa system will be a challenge. The sovereignty concerns, addressing potential conflicts that arise when national sovereignty intersects with international collaboration on whistleblower protection, resource allocation, money talks, and ensuring adequate funding and staffing for embassies and other entitled entities involved in the emergency visa process, for example. the cultural difference and stigma, overcoming societal attitudes and prejudices that may hinder the acceptance and protection of whistleblowers. Public awareness is crucial to overcome such challenges, and education introduction at schools can help overcome cultural barriers in a country. Enforcement and compliance, monitoring and enforcing standardized criteria and procedures to prevent abuse or negligence within the system. As mentioned earlier on, the use of AI can help with this challenge. Of course, the challenge of whistleblower safety, creating robust safeguards for the physical and legal security of whistleblowers during applications and relocation processes. The emergency visa concept can help with that. And one of the most crucial is the political will, which is the most challenging element, securing commitment and cooperation from government to prioritize whistleblower protection and transparency initiatives. Here we can introduce the investment opportunities incentives via the Corruption Perception Index point and the Sustainable Growth criteria from the UN to pressure politicians and governments that are resisting such a treaty adaptation. Now, I'd like at this point to introduce a current example, the Novartis case proof of concept as to why we need a treaty. Now, for those that are not familiar with the Novartis case in the US, I mean, the issue was that within the United States, Novartis was accused of violating the Anti-Kickback Statute and False Claim Act by offering payments to healthcare practitioners to encourage them to prescribe certain Novartis drugs. Now, in 2016, an investigation was launched by the FBI in the US when former employees of the subsidiary Novartis Hellas, which is the Greek Novartis, were placed under whistleblowing protection. So in other words, there were some Greek former employees, and they were actually high-ranking employees in the Greek Novartis who discover wrongdoing and corruption within the Novartis, and they approach the FBI. They got declared whistleblower status. Now, they reported the company's illegal practices of unfair competition through bribes and indirect benefits to doctors and officials in Greece in order to increase sales in the prescription of certain drugs. The whistleblowers also revealed the mechanism that the company had set up to gain a dominant position in the Greek market. The US investigation included and presented false records of bribes in the Novartis AG's books, financial records and accounts that pretended to be legitimate advertising and promotion expenses, and then the false financial profile of the company before SEC and investors. And that illustrated the symbiotic relationship between corruption and financial crimes. Now, here comes the interesting part. In Greece, the investigation of the case opened in 2017 when the whistleblowers testified before the Greek anti-corruption prosecutors. The preliminary judicial investigation included not only healthcare providers and company executives, but also alleged political figures. This case also triggered a high-profile parliamentary inquiry. It is worth notice that in June 2020, Novartis reached a settlement totaling $347 million with the US Department of Justice and the Security and Exchange Commission for violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. It admitted illegal payments to Greek officials and healthcare provisioners. Following this, the Greek government filed a lawsuit in June 2022, that was 2 years later, to hold Novartis accountable for bribery of healthcare providers. So everybody should be happy, right? A success story. Not exactly. In a recent turn of event, Greek authorities have initiated criminal legal action against the Greek whistleblowers involved in the Novartis case, accusing them of falsely alleging that political officials received bribes from Novartis. The case is currently pending. This is a critical example of cross-border conflict of interest, particularly regarding the treatment of whistleblowers between different states, US and Greece. The Novartis case is a textbook study on the complex intersection of corporate misconduct, whistleblower protection, and a conflict of interest on international legal frameworks. Published records such as the SEC released and the DOJ settlement documents reveal a systematic pattern of bribery and falsification that underscores the challenges of holding multinational corporations accountable. The disparity in whistleblower treatment between the US and Greece further highlights the need for cohesive global standards to ensure that these individuals are protected rather than persecuted. The above case is a testimony why the need of the international treaty of the whistleblower is crucial. And with that final example, I would like to thank you all for your attention and time on my presentation of the International Treaty of the Whistleblowers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this really interesting presentation, and the unfortunate circumstances that arise in a recent climate where migration cross borders and the silencing effect of this vulnerability that is being politicized is, I think it's a really important point you're making, and very important work as well. So thank you. I will.